Hello folks, Fat Guy Flies RC here. Just a real quick little video, more of a personal rant than anything else. One of my viewers, Ken Simmons, I hope I'm saying that right, owns an Aero Scout and an and a Carbon Cub S2. And his question was basically, I fly these planes, should I stick with them or should I move on? And I went into a long dissertation about how to know when you're ready to progress to a different wing type, and then I realized that's really not his question. His question is, how many planes should I have, or how many, different, when should I go on to a different type of plane? So that brings up two questions. When do you know you're ready to progress to a new wing type or a new type of plane? And how many planes should I have? Well, the first question, as far as how to know when you're ready to progress, when you're ready to move on, when you feel like you're ready for a new challenge, a new type of plane, here's how I test myself. Whenever, like my very first plane that I learned on was the Delta Ray Firebird. Not the Firebird, the Delta Ray, not the Delta Ray 1, not the little one, the bigger Delta Ray, and that's no longer made. And I got to the point where I flew that thing with no safe turned on, in advanced mode all the time, and I loops and roll. Basically, I got to the point to where I could fly that plane without thinking. It became an extension of me. Basically, when I could fly and I could have someone stand close to me and carry on a conversation while I flew. And I didn't even think about what I was doing. All my loops and rolls and takeoffs and landings and maneuvers, I did second nature. I didn't even have to think about it. When you get to that point with a plane, to where you can feel that plane. And what I mean is, when you take off and you do a tight turn, that you can feel the wings kind of flex in the turn. When that plane sets down, you can feel those wheels touch the ground. When you can feel that plane moving through the air, when you can feel that plane through the transmitter. And that sounds kind of hokey, like, oh, come on now. But seriously, experienced pilots, and like the ones who are 3D pilots and all these expert people are a lot better than me, they can feel that plane. You always hear them say, well, how does she feel? How does she feel? Well, that's just it. When you get to the point where you can feel that plane through the transmitter, then you know that you're completely comfortable with that plane. At that point, you're ready to move on to a new challenge. That doesn't mean you get rid of that plane and get something totally different. That just means you've gotten to know that plane really well and you're confident. Now you're ready for a new type of plane. And that's how you know when you're ready to progress. When you can feel that plane, it's completely comfortable and you don't have to think about it anymore. You just fly, second nature. That's when you know. Okay, now, how many types of planes should you have? Well, obviously, my answer is as many as you can have. People often ask me how many planes I have. My standard answer is I'm one plane away from a divorce. Basically, have as many types of planes as you can afford, that you can store, and that your loved ones who you live with can put up with, basically. Because it's like me. This is how I am. Every plane is different. Every plane has its own quirks. You can take, well, like Ken Simmons, he has an Aero Scout and a Carbon Cub S2, and I asked him, I said, well, your Aero Scout, you fly it, and then you turn around and fly your Carbon Cub S2. They don't fly the same, do they? No, each plane has its own quirks, its own little way of doing things. They're all the same in that the laws of physics aren't going to change. High wings are going to fly a certain way, low wings are going to fly a certain way, delta wings are going to fly a different way. So the basics of the type of plane are going to be the same, but how each of those individual planes fly is going to be different. Because they're like individuals, they're like people, they're like your children. They're all going to have their own personalities and their own different ways. That's one of the reasons why I have so many different planes. And any time a plane comes out that's a totally different configuration, or it's weird looking, or it's strange, I want to get it because it's going to be a total different way of flying. I'm going to learn to it. Yes, for me, I probably move on too quickly before I, quote unquote, learn to feel that type of plane, because for me, this is a sick addiction and a very expensive one. But it's my hobby, okay? It's what I love to do. I love having them. So it's whatever you can afford to have, as many as you can afford to have in storage. That's entirely up to you. But honestly, it's experiencing a different challenge, experiencing a different wing type. Another really fun thing to do, and this is really easy to do with warbirds and some of your scale planes, is actually go online, study that actual real plane, like your P-47 Thunderbolt, or a P-40 Warhawk, or an F-16. Go online, study those planes, look at the planes fly in real life, read what pilots say about their actual plane, the tendencies. Like the Thunderbolt, for instance, they just basically had a huge engine and built a plane around a huge engine. So you've got all this powerful torque, okay? Well, guess what? The RC plane is going to behave very, very much the same way as the full-size plane does. So what I like to do is I like to research a plane first that exists in real life, like the Widgeon, around here somewhere, seaplane. Okay, it behaves a certain way. I researched it a little bit before I actually bought an RC version of the Widgeon, and it kind of gives you a little heads up on what you can expect that model to do. The airfoil, the airframe is going to move the same through the air as the full size one would. Of course, there's little idiosyncrasies like thrust and power and weight and all that's going to affect it, but the basic idea is still the same. So it's a fun way to choose your next plane, is research the real plane and then buy the RC version of it if that's what you want to do. It's just something I do, but that's just a fun thing to the hobby. But there again, this is just all my things that I've felt, my opinions. This is just how I feel. This is just my own little personal rant about my passion of this wonderful hobby. Hopefully I've answered the questions of when are you ready to move on to another plane, and I've answered the question of really how many planes you should have, and when should you move on to a different type of wing type. It's entirely up to you. But like I say, when you're to the point where you're so comfortable that you can carry on a conversation with somebody standing next to you and not think about it and do all those things, you're ready. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless. Now I got to turn the camera off.